Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. In this session, we're going to see file action. As part of file action, we're going to see a method called write. So write saves new line of text into an existing file. If file does not exist, it will create a file. And it's very useful for creating logs or reports. And it also can be called as creating file or writing file in append mode. It keeps on appending in the same file. So you don't have to create new file all the time. Or it will not create a new file each time. It will create existing file once and then it will keep on writing in the same file. The syntax is very similar to dump, as we have seen, which is like text to file and write text to a file, write variable to a file, which is pretty straightforward. We'll see the example in detail. Welcome back. So let's launch our favorite Notepad++. Let me show an example of write. Let's get started. Let's first save the file. I'm going to save it in our destination where we have been saving it. I'm going to save it as write example.tag and hit enter. And so let's say //tagui file actions and write method. And write method basically is append to the file. So the syntax is as similar, which we have seen. They write and you provide text to file name, or you can say write and you provide variable to file name. So let's see an example. Okay, so let's save this. So it's pretty straightforward. So like in this case, let's go to a location where we have saved our file. So I have saved this in this location. So in this location, so let's say in this location, so you can see 3 files. So we're going to write or append it. So let's write and you specify whatever you want to write into a file. Store text into a file and file name, let's say write text example.txt. This is the file we are going to save it. So when you do that, you don't see this file exist. So let's just save it. And what write does it, if file does not exist, it will create the file and write this particular text, which you see here, which is this text to this particular file. So it will check whether this file exists, which is whatever the file you give, it exists or not. If it does not exist, it will create the file. And once creating the file, it will go and it will basically move the content or write the content back into the file. Let's see this example if it works, and then we'll see a couple of more variants around it. Okay, so let's save this. I have saved this, minimize this, and let's minimize a little bit more here and launch our command prompt. So to launch command prompt, go to search and say cmd command prompt app should be displayed, or you can go to apps and you can able to search for command prompt. So click on this. So it will open, navigate to your location where you have stored your write example file, say tag UI, write example or tag, and I'll go to say -h because I'm not going to use any browser in this one statement. So let's just make it a little big and let's have this one here like this so that we can see that right now there's nothing. I have refreshed it. So we can see whether it is basically creating a new file or not. Say enter. So it executed and it's created it. So it checked for whether the file exists or not. The file does not exist, so it should be creating it. So go over there, refresh this place. So when you refresh it, this particular thing is being available. So you can just right click on it and you can say edit, which you can open it in any notepad or you can open it in Notepad++. So I'm going to open it in the Notepad++. So you can see whatever we wrote it in this file, it basically put it back into the write text ex.txt file. So let's see the same example in a couple of other variants. Let's say we update the same thing with like one more line. So let's say homepage, copy and paste, say line 1, line 2, and put it in the file. When you duplicate it, when you run with a duplicate statements or same statements twice, in the previous example which we have seen dump, it will delete everything and only keep the last one, or each time you call dump method, it will remove everything, recreate new file and write the content. In this case, it will not create, it will check whether the file exists. If file exists, it will just append in the file whatever the last line of the file which is open and exists, it will add on top of it. So in this case, if you have seen here the example, so we had this example which we opened. So we had this store text into a file. Line is already stored, which is line number 1. So what we're expecting is it should, these two lines which you have, line which we have, that is line 1 and line 2. These two should be appended here as line 3 and 4. Store text into file. Line number 2, store text into file. So let's save this and run again. Let's refresh this and let's move this a little bit here. Let's run this whole thing all over again and enter. Launched, wrote, and it finished. Let's refresh this and go back to our code, which is here. So it says that the file has been modified by another program. Do you want to reload it? I'm going to say yes. When you reload it, you can see that, right? So you can see these two lines has been added into the file. This is very helpful when you're trying to write some logs. Let's update the code a little bit more to see a variable exam variance, and then also see some sort of a write method implementation with various conditions, right? So what we're going to do, as we have done in the past, so we're going to say launch our Chrome browser. We're going to take, this time we're going to take bankrate.com, and we're going to click banking. We are going to click what is offshore banking. We'll try to get some of the contents over here into our file, right? So this is what we're going to do, and we will see how we can able to really log this whole process and come back to our code. So what we're going to do is we're going to comment these two lines, which is right now will not be useful, and I'm going to just say update, and we're going to say launch the website, and which is in this case https://bankrate.com, and say timeout 5 seconds. And let's check whether we are able to, Bankrate is open or not, site is open or not. So we will be using a method which is a URL, like helper function, URL helper function, and we're going to say contains, and we're going to check for Bankrate in the URL. We can do several other checking to see if it is launched. We can probably go to the page and see some content is being displayed or not. To be validated, we can take the title and do the validation. I just want to keep it simple to showcase the right example. So let's say right, and let's say step 1 success, and say launch successful, launch was successful. And 2, let's write it in the same file. Let's say text exe.text. Let's say else we can say failed, launch of Bankrate failed. So this is first one. So once we complete this, we come back here. What are we doing next? So let's launch, and then we're going to click banking. So let's inspect and see what is the DOM object. It's just banking. So let's copy it and come back here, say click banking, and time out, let's say 3 seconds. And I would go back and see what's the URL. Like when you click on banking, what happens? So it basically shows banking in the URL. So what we can do is same thing, copy paste, copy whole thing, bring it back here. Oh, let's copy the whole thing and bring it back here and say banking. This is what you're checking. So if it's found, we can say success, page navigation successful upon clicking banking link. And let's come back here. This is step 2, and we can say failed. Rest of the whole thing would be copy and paste and say failed. Say page navigation failed upon clicking banking link, and then rest of the things stays same. So once we click it, we're going to click what? So we are going to come and click on this, what is offshore banking. So let's get this inspect, and let's get this thing, and okay, so it's basically the whole value. Copy and come back here and say click and paste. Come back and enter. Say timeout 3 seconds, and just copy paste the same thing and update the content. So copy and say In this case, let's see the URL. If there are changes in the URL, let's click on this and you see, hey, offshore banking is what it is showing. So we'll see if offshore banking is there in the URL. So if it is there in the URL, then we are into the page, right? So in this case, we just updated this upon clicking this link, upon clicking this link field, right? So this is number 3, and let's come back here. So we are in this page and we wanted to get the content over here, which is here, into our variable. So let's go back here and let's try to get the content. So to get the content, let's get the XPath. Let's copy the XPath, come back here, read, and you provide an XPath. This is our XPath. And I say we need a variable. So we need to declare a variable. We say var get web text variable and go and say empty. Let's echo for our convenience and provide so that we know that it is empty to start with. Starting it should be empty. When we come back here, what we are going to do is we are going to store it in the variable, and now come back here, echo this as well, echo the variable value. I already have the statement. Let's just copy paste it. So which is over here, copy and paste it. So save time in. Last but not least, let's write and let's say step 4, get what is offshore banking page to write .exe and we can say write, and just demark it a little bit so that we are doing some process here, and come back here and say variable. So as we have seen var syntax wise, and say to and provide the file name. So in this case, the file name is write text. And once you finish, yeah, this is finishes. So let's do a little bit more, one more. Let's write. So let's save this and minimize this, close the existing browser and launch our command prompt. In this case, because it has a UI, I'm going to run it with the UI. So minimize this and clear the screen. So if you see here, we have this file. This file contains 3 text, which is 3 lines of text. So now we'll get more content in this file. Update the same file with the new information which we have put it in the file. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch our bankrate.com. We're going to, if it's navigated successfully, we're going to say navigated successfully. If it's failed, we're going to say it's failed. So then you have clicking on a banking link will check whether it is successfully navigated. If it is, then we'll write it. The same way we'll click on offshore banking account. So when if it navigates, then we are going to say yes, true, success, or else we are going to fail it. And once you go there, we are going to get the content and store it in the variable and copy that, write the variable back into the file. So this is the things which this script is going to do. So let's minimize this and let's run this. So here we have the same file. So let's minimize this and let's see. So we are going to run it with without the hidden mode, right? So we're going to say tag UI, write example.tag and say enter. So it's launched. So it's empty. Web get web text is empty. It's navigating. It's successfully navigated. Oh, so successfully launched, and it is clicking the banking link, and it did not. It said failed to, cannot find the offshore link, and it failed to click on it. So let's see the file, what happened here. To see the file, what happened. So if we go here, it is updated. So let's update it. So if you say that, see that you have a bankrate.com successful and page navigation failed, and basically it stopped. So we know that what happened here, right? So let's make it a little bit more clear here, because it's keep on writing. So we are not able to see what's happening, or there's no separation of it. So we can update this code in a little bit more or enhance this a little bit more. What we can do is, again, we can say, hey, we can say write, and we can just specify a line, say bank rate log start, and we can say to, and we can write our file name. text, right? And then we can copy and come back here and say, also say complete. And now we'll see why it has failed. So probably it clicked, but let's see, maybe something wrong with our DOM. We launched it, we clicked it. Okay, basically it probably clicked. We need a little bit more time in it. Let me just increase this timeout to 5 seconds, so that we have more time for it. So let's just close these files and save this, minimize this, and let's clear this so that we can have a clean place to see what's happening. So run it again, launch. So it started. It's a step one. It reached. It's successful. It clicked on banking. So you can see it navigated to banking. It clicked on offshore banking and it probably got the content and saved it. So let's go back and see if it is basically able to get the content. So let's go back and say edit here. So if you see here, it could able to fetch all the things. So it started the log. So now we have very clear thing, right? So it started the log and then it was successful, went in, launched successful, then navigated to the page of this link, and then again successful for what is the offshore banking link, right? It clicked successful. Then it is trying to get the content of offshore banking page, right? And then these are the whole content which you have, and this finished the whole thing. So now this looks more cleaner. And if you run it one more time, it will append this log, and you can keep on saying it. It's very useful if you remove the echo statement and then have this file statement in your bot code. Now you can see your logs and you can start tracking what happened and when it is failed and how it is failed. So it's very useful for log creations and logging your steps using write instead of using echo. So echo is also helpful, but write, you can always keep on going back and see what happened, what error happened. So you can also get the error and store the error to see what's happening or what happened from an error standpoint. So this concludes the example of write. Thank you for watching. See you another one.